It's alright.
Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Moxie here on a Borderlands 3 video, and today we are updating my chain Zane build. Now this build is one of my most popular and absolutely rips through the takedown. Now when I first made this build, we were using an electric banjo, hence the name Chain Zane, and this build was using redistributors and whatever else you wanted to absolutely tear through all content. Now, there is a hidden mechanic going on with the redistributors that I wasn't quite aware of at the time of making the video, and I am now more aware of that and can make more informed decisions about our builds and our artifacts. So I wanted to update that for you guys because you guys deserve to know about all of these things. Real quick, before we're going to get into that, I need to say something. Someone in the community reached out to me about an app they had developed called Shift Alert. Now, this is a really convenient app if you guys like using shift codes to get your golden keys from Sanctuary. Shift Alert is basically your all-in-one tool for using shift codes. You are able to redeem the shift codes in the app without ever punching anything in. You just go over to your shift code, hit it, redeem it. You won't be able to see shift codes that you've already redeemed, and there isn't any typing required. So if that is something that interests you, check it out in the Google Play App Store below. And with that, let's get into the video. So, Chain Zane, the skill tree doesn't need to change. Now I'm going to be going over with you guys what you can change if you would like. But in terms of weapons and our artifact, the biggest difference that's happening now is the redistributor is chaining every single time it shoots through our barrier. So the redistributor's card reads every 7th shot is amped. Amped shots chained to nearby enemies. What's happening with the redistributor is when we put down our barrier, the barrier's inherent property is that it chains shots that shoot out of it, or amp shots that shoot out of it, and because our shots are getting amped, every one of our shots is now chaining. Now this works really crazily on Zane because he can pump out crazy fire rate with the redistributor, and he always has the barrier up, especially with the Seeing Dead comm. The barrier never goes down. What this leads to is absolute destruction of any group of enemies you come across because your redistributor will chain every single shot. Now that we know that the redistributor is chaining every shot, the use for the banjo isn't as necessary because before we were using the banjo to help chain and to help keep our action skills up and keep us healing. Our redistributor is doing all of that for us without the banjo, and I didn't really realize that. So, I have been running the takedown with the banjo, and I've been running the takedown with an icebreaker victory rush. Honestly, if you have the banjo and you've been using this build, you know that it destroys with the banjo, and you don't need to change your relic. But because I have been using something else, I wanted to let you guys know that I've been switching to an icebreaker victory rush. Our chain damage from the redistributors is plenty to one-clip huge groups of enemies. The Icebreaker Victory Rush is going to give us bonus movement speed and damage for 60 seconds when we kill a badass. It's going to give us bonus damage versus frozen enemies and increase cryo efficiency. My Icebreaker Victory Rush has the stats of SMG damage, cryo efficiency, and cryo damage. It is pretty easy to get bonus cryo damage on an Icebreaker. So all in all, the Icebreaker Victory Rush is going to give us more single target damage and a lot of awesome crowd control because we're going to be freezing enemies more often and doing more damage to them when we freeze them. Now, when it comes to bosses and things like that, the banjo is nice because it helps keep our action skill up, but it is not needed. Ultimately, this decision is up to you guys of what you would like to do, but I'm telling you that the banjo is no longer necessary for this build to perform at the highest level, and in my opinion, you are better off using an Icebreaker Victory Rush if you have one. If you don't, you're okay. Now, when it comes to skill trees, there is some small micro changes you can make to the build, but all in all, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Let me show you guys what the changes that I've made to the build are. So if you want to copy them, you totally can. And if you want to stay with the skill trees that I allocated in the beginning, which are perfectly fine, you can. Alright guys, so this is the final skill tree. I'll just show it briefly if you guys just want to peek at it. But let me explain to you guys why I made these points. So no changes in the green tree, no changes in the red tree. The only changes we've made is a few minor tweaks in the blue tree. These minor tweaks are just to increase the time that it takes to run through the takedown, to shave off some seconds, but they really aren't huge changes. Nothing drastic is going on here. Just a few minor tweaks to increase our takedown speed. Now those minor tweaks are to get more reload speed so that we can output more DPS faster. Less points in salvation because our shield is pretty much always up. We don't need lifesteal when our shield goes down. It is nice to have that little bit of lifesteal to sustain ourselves, but we don't need 2 points here, in my opinion. We have an extra point in violent violence. That's going to give us plus 46% fire rate when it's stacked twice, which is crazy. I still have playing dirty at 105. This isn't needed, but after we kill an enemy, our next 5 shots all have a chance to fire an extra projectile. This keeps repeating and repeating and repeating, so playing dirty is always active, and we're always firing an additional projectile with our fire rate. That gets crazy. It puts out a lot of DPS. I put 1 point into Good Misfortune. This skill is really, really important to have, but it's not important to have 3 out of 3 in it. Now, the reason there's 1 point in this skill is because it has diminishing returns. That means that at a certain point, no matter how many points we put into this skill, our return of our max duration is going to be the same. Therefore, if we kill a certain amount of enemies and we reach the diminishing returns, it doesn't matter how many points we have, because we're killing so many enemies and are running the takedown so fast. We only need 1 point here. If you are noticing your kill skills going down, put 2 points in here. But if you could keep up with the speed, only 1 point is needed here. This allows for us to put more points into violent violence. And we took a point out of salvation and put it into cool hands. Just small minor tweaks for you guys, but they will improve your takedown type if you are running it if you're running it for speed. If you're just doing it casually, use the banjo, use anything else, use the old skill tree. Totally up to you guys. I just felt like I owed you guys an explanation if you're popping into my stream and see me not running the banjo anymore. So there you have it. In terms of actual gear, still running an It's Piss with on grenade throw to debuff enemies and give us our weapon grenade and action skill damage when our drone drops our grenade. The shield that I've been using, it's not really for the shield. I just got an anointment for while Sentinel's active movement speed is increased by 15%. With our skills, that's going to give us more damage and more movement speed to increase our speed running time through the takedown and anything else. So I would look for this anointment in terms of the shield. The Band of Sidorak would be the best shield for you, but I haven't gotten a Band of Sidorak with this movement speed, so at the moment, still using Transformer. Seeing Dead hasn't changed, and obviously the Elemental Projector, the Icebreaker Victory Rush has changed. The weapons we're using is all Sentinel Cryo. Sentinel Cryo all day, every day since the buff to Sentinel Cryo. If you didn't know, is while Sentinel is active, gain 50% of damage as bonus cryo. That was recently buffed to gain 100% damage as bonus cryo. This is absolutely ridiculous. This build did not need a buff, but hey, it got one. Not gonna complain. I like rocking redistributors with this. I like rocking Maggies with this, Cutsmans with this. Anything you want will absolutely shred with this alignment and on this build. Just a quick update for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you're enjoying the Chain Zane build. Thank you so much for listening, and hit me with a subscribe, a like, and a comment if you feel like I deserve it. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one. Peace.